Of every piece of legislation I think I've ever considered, I don't know that it's ever been more lopsided than this one. I think I think almost every single person that's weighing in is saying to veto it. I've never seen a more negative response from the public to the legislature. I mean, think about what they did. They just rammed this through. They didn't want to do it. They showed up on Monday. The members didn't know what the hell was going on. They unveil this thing. They think if they put Trump's name on it, that somehow that's going to pull the wool over people's eyes. Even though it's a very weak bill, and I think it's a misnomer, but that's what they did. And a lot of these members didn't really have time to fully appreciate what was going on, but it's a leadership-driven thing, and they really threaten these guys. Hey, if you don't get in line, you're going to lose your committee, you're going to lose bills, you're going to lose all this. First of all, I think you got to do the right thing. I don't think you could be cowed by that, but that's kind of the pressure. So they wanted to come in, jam it through, and go and be able to say they did something. Remember, they did not want to do this. 2 weeks ago, they said this wasn't important. It didn't need to happen now, that we could wait. We had months to burn before we had to do anything. They said it was a stunt to do a special session on illegal immigration. I think they should have called this a month ago. They should have been chomping at the bit to get in there and do really strong policy. Why did I have to drag them in to be able to do this? They should have wanted to do it, but I think the fact is that they didn't have that motivation. They didn't want to seize the moment. They fought us on even doing a special session. They said it was premature. They said it was a stunt. That should tell you that they don't want to follow the promises that were made to the voters in the campaign. That's not their concern. They just don't want this to be a political albatross, so they're trying to do the bare minimum to be able to move, and actually underhanded way, even kneecap some of the things we're doing right now. So that's not the way you want to do business. And I think the response from people, how negative it's been, should tell you people care about this issue. People see this as a once-in-a-generation opportunity to get it right. They don't want any more of the posturing or the games. They just want to get the job done. And as I've said, I've gone through some of the things we've proposed and how they're all stronger than what the legislature did. But if people have other proposals that are stronger than what I did, do it. I don't need any credit or pride of ownership on any of this. I just want to get the job done for the people of Florida.
Hey there, Patriots. This is True Outlaw Patriot coming at you with another one. What I just showed you was a short clip of DeSantis talking about the Trump immigration policy that's going on. There seems to be, there seems to be something in the mix in Florida that, in my opinion, actors from the right and the left, and when I mean the right, I mean Rinos, and from the left, Democrats, are trying to basically pit, Trump against DeSantis, or DeSantis against Trump, and make it seem as if DeSantis is not, is not on Trump's side. There's going to be a couple of video clips I'm going to show you, and an article, something that I want to read, but it's not going to, hopefully it won't be as long a video as usual, but everybody knows when I put stuff together is because I want to break it all down, so like that everybody gets as much information as they can. The reason why I played this clip first is because doing some research, what caught my eye, and I'll minimize it, was the title. And it said, this was put out by First Coast News. DeSantis promises to veto Trump Act immigration bill proposed by Florida Republicans. Right there, that tells me something is amiss, something's going on, and for all intents and purposes, the narrative and the agenda, that the left has perpetrated for the last 4 years, it's up and coming in Florida. And I called it a while ago that just because Florida has flipped solid red, and I was explaining this to a friend of mine back home in New York about a week ago over the phone, that Florida cannot be complacent, regardless of the fact that Florida has flipped solid red, and basically Florida is MAGA country, there is a stronghold of rhinos and Democrats, okay, that are working out in the open to try to destroy Trump's policies, DeSantis's policies, because they want to flip Florida blue. Okay, it wasn't that long ago. If anybody goes on the map, if anybody goes online and looks up the map of Florida, of how it turned from blue to red, you'd be amazed how quickly it did. Okay, and there was a reason for that. It's because the majority of people in Florida got sick and tired of the Democrat policies. But here's the thing. More and more people from these leftist blue states, especially in the county that I'm at in Florida, I'm meeting a lot more people coming in from California and coming in from blue states, and they're embedding themselves, okay, where if Florida is not careful, like I've said it many, many times before, if you don't watch the small votes, that's going to build up and you're going to lose the bigger votes. And let's just take the schools, for instance. Okay, there's a lot of people in Florida that are complaining that they're still coming in. So many liberal leftist teachers coming into the public school boards. Okay, they don't talk about it on the news much, but if you live in Florida, you know what I'm talking about. And that's what they want. They are going to try their damnedest to try to take over Florida. Now, I had to leave a comment when I first seen this video, okay, to the content creator, because I was like, are you just putting out this one piece of video clip because you're trying to stir something up? Because the title alone, okay, is almost as if it's trying to perpetrate that DeSantis doesn't like Trump's immigration policies. Then one will start thinking that's because DeSantis wants illegal immigrants in Florida. Okay, DeSantis has stated he doesn't mind legal immigration. It's the illegal immigration that is affecting a lot of parts of Florida. I'm going to jump to some other video clips so you can see how now the news is trying to stir this all together. Well, I should say stir it in a way where people are not coming together. Okay? And then we're going to hear straight from DeSantis's mouth of, I believe it was the day after, where he had to go and basically put his foot down to other Republicans in Florida. The ones that I'm considering at this moment are the rhinos that are in cahoots with the Democrats because they want to break up Trump's immigration policy to pieces. And they want to take Ron DeSantis down with it, even to the point, okay, saying that Ron DeSantis doesn't have any power in Florida, that he's losing ground and all this other chaos. And it's like, that just makes no sense. If there are two people that are talking, if there are two politicians that are talked about the most in Florida that are supported in Florida, that is Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis. But we'll check the videos so you guys can see what I'm talking about. Here we go.
And tonight at 5, the clash over immigration policy in Florida is escalating as Governor Ron DeSantis says he plans to veto the state's newly passed immigration bill. The growing rift within the Republican Party intensified after the Florida legislature quickly ended the special session called by the governor Monday, then called its own special session to address that issue of immigration.
Well, Tarek Miner's joining us now with the latest on this political back and forth, Tarek.
It definitely is back and forth. DeSantis now saying the immigration bill is not getting his signature, which according to political experts could put Republican lawmakers in Florida back at square one on how to enforce President Trump's immigration policies. Democrats say the rift is an indication that DeSantis is losing his grip on power in the sunshine.
Okay, I know it's the first 45 seconds, but there we go, people. The spin has already started with the media. If there's one thing that Democrats love to do, they love to pit people against each other. Okay, pay attention.
Try and stay.
I have said I am vetoing their legislation.
It's not gonna get my signature.
Governor Ron DeSantis in Titusville today talking about his own political party, vowing to strike down legislation that was passed by lawmakers Tuesday night. DeSantis is taking issue with Republicans putting Florida Agriculture Commissioner Wilton Simpson in command of immigration in the state of Florida. The bill includes tougher measures for illegal entry into the state and the creation of a state immigration officer.
How could I possibly sign something that is contrary to everything I've campaigned on, that's contrary to what President Trump campaigned on, that makes us a de facto sanctuary state, that neuters the operations we're doing?
Republican House Speaker Daniel Perez fired back at DeSantis, saying in part, lawmakers passed the most conservative, the most aggressive, and the most effective immigration bill in the country. Simply saying something is terrible over and over doesn't actually make it true. Threatening others to get your way isn't leadership, it's immaturity.
What I have seen over the last 48 hours should disrupt the consciousness of people across the entire state when it comes to respect in Florida government.
Florida Democratic Party Chair Nikki Fried, who is the former Florida Agriculture Commissioner, says the governor is losing his grip on power, arguing that deporting Florida migrants will cripple the state's economy.
Our biggest industries are agriculture, tourism, construction.
And there you go, folks. This is what it's all about. See, they're trying to put a spin on it, making it seem like DeSantis is losing grip on power. And right away, they have to come with the fact of that if you get rid of the illegal immigrants, it's going to affect the economy. But it's not over. Let's continue.
And all of them rely on migrant workers.
Political science professor Michael Bender says DeSantis' influence appears to be diminishing, saying the governor has struggled to cultivate partnerships.
Ron DeSantis really hasn't been great building relationships within the legislature with people. He steamrolled them the last 4 years. And, well, now you're not the next chosen one. You're not going to be on the ballot. You're a lame duck governor with a larger presence in your state in Donald Trump. So, these are the things that can happen, especially when you don't play nice with the legislature that's of your own party. These are all Republicans.
Okay. So you see the way they're pushing. Now they're going to have the talking heads coming out, trying to make it seem like, you know what, everything's falling apart for the Republican Party, that since DeSantis is in charge, he's losing ground, he's losing steam, and that this is going to be a big problem. Now we'll get to the next news clip. Here we go.
We begin with that developing story at the state capitol. Again, it is ever-changing. Good afternoon. I'm Greg Wormuth.
And I'm Darlene Jones. Governor Ron DeSantis says he will veto the Republican immigration bill passed late last night during a special session where you were up until today. But that's not the end of the chaos at the state capitol. Channel 9 Shannon Butler has been in Tallahassee since Sunday, watching every single development of this major story. She's live there again today. And Shannon, this bill could still become law, but the Republicans will need 2/3 of the vote in the House and Senate, which the Republicans also control.
That's right, but they don't have those votes as of this morning, but that doesn't mean this is over. There is something else in the works right now, and that means leaning now on the Democrats.
There you go.
Governor Ron DeSantis made his way across the state today to talk about immigration.
You either want to solve the problem or you don't.
And slam the legislature along the way.
Here's the thing. This is a pass-fail exercise. Either you're doing what needs to be done or you're not.
Last night, legislators passed the Trump Act. It's a new bill introduced by legislative leaders after Governor Ron DeSantis called a special session for immigration bills he backed.
They just rammed this through. They didn't want to do it. They showed up on Monday. The members didn't know what the hell was going on. They unveil this thing. They think if they put Trump's name on it, that somehow that's going to pull the wool over people's eyes.
And it was clear today in Titusville he will veto it. But it seems if he does, there's a plan being worked out. The Republicans have told us they do not have the votes to override that veto. The Democrats say they're in negotiations and could change that.
And we will work with the Senate leadership, Senator Albritton, to hold the line. There will be there are negotiations happening now because we knew that this was going to happen. But I can tell you that I believe the Senate will do the right thing.
So what happens now? Well, we wait again, we wait for the governor to make that move. As for an override, if that actually becomes something that the Senate decides to do, they will not likely do it this week. They will come back to maybe do it next week. They're already going to be here in Tallahassee. So instead of coming up here the next couple of days, they'll wait until they're already here. But still, that could take some time. There's still a lot of chess moves being played before we even get to that. We are live.
Okay. So you seen that, you heard that, and right away, as soon as she said that the Republicans are going to need a certain majority of the vote, that's where if they don't get it, that's where the Democrats come in. People need to understand one thing about Florida and the South, okay? And I don't know if I ever mentioned it. I think I might have in a video or 2 months ago, maybe even last year. There's one thing that a lot of people don't know about the South. In the South, if anybody has ever heard the term Dixiecrat, there are many Dixiecrats in the South. Okay, in the shadows, they're there. In other words, people say, well, those are just rhinos. Okay. In my opinion, the Dixiecrats are probably worse than the rhinos because they are like true blue. In my opinion, crooked Republicans, or if you want to call them Democrats, pretending to be Republicans, whatever the case is. This is why I said, when it comes to Florida, people need to not be so complacent thinking that just because we have Ron DeSantis, it's MAGA country, it's solid red, excuse me, that everything is everything. It's not. Okay? You have a lot of these so-called Republicans that are in the shadows that hold a lot of power, and they cater to the Democrat agenda. Okay? Now, if anybody lives in Florida, you definitely know what I'm talking about. Just because, you may have a rhino coming out of California or New York, it's way different down south. Way different down south. Okay? But when you have a person like Trump that has the majority of the votes, and you have a person like DeSantis, regardless of his and Trump's disagreements, when they're sticking together, that is a major threat. Okay, to the rhinos, and definitely a threat to the Democrats in Florida. And that's what they're trying to disrupt. Okay, I'm gonna minimize this real quick and go to an article that I was talking about. I'm gonna play a couple of things real quick, and then we're gonna hear straight. Besides all the video clips that the news is putting out, I'm gonna play DeSantis talking in full at his briefing, I think it was, where he explains everything that's going on and why he cannot, in all good conscience, go along with what these Republicans are putting out, saying that, like you already said, by stamping Trump's name on it, that doesn't make it any better, where it's going to put a veil over people's eyes. No. Donald Trump ran on a campaign. DeSantis backed him up. They're doing this to get the right results in Florida, regardless of what the rhinos are saying and what the Democrats are saying. But this right here came out of, it says right here, Florida lawmakers passed Trump Act bill to help with immigration crackdown. Okay, Orlando, Florida. The Florida legislature passed a sweeping immigration bill Tuesday night, transferring key responsibilities from the governor to the agriculture commissioner in regard to immigration enforcement. It says the bill passed during a special legislative session on immigration. Designates Florida Agriculture Commissioner Wilton Simpson as the state's immigration czar, making him the primary liaison for federal, state, and local authorities. This shift removes oversight from the governor's office, a change Republican lawmakers say will allow for greater focus on the issue. That's what they're saying. DeSantis is like, no, you want to take the power away from me. Okay? And DeSantis explains it himself, his own words. How is he going to let somebody that's in charge of agriculture basically make the rules on how to get rid of immigrants, when you already heard a Democrat say, if you get rid of the immigrants, is going to affect the farming industry and other workforce industries. That right there is a conflict of interest. Okay, but this is what the media is not putting out. They're saying everything else, that there's infighting, but they're not saying why there's infighting. They're not saying why DeSantis is like, no, I'm not going to sign this because that takes the power away from me. And what that does is give the one that's voting for this, who is siding with the Democrats, to be in charge of illegal immigration. That's not going to work. Because what that's going to do, it's going to make them get rid of some illegals, but it's going to keep most of them here. And then they're going to say, since we have the power, we're doing this because we need them to work the farms, the hotel industry, yada, yada, yada. So we're back to square one. Nothing is getting done. Where was I? Okay, it says the Trump Act, what is it? What we know, nicknamed the Trump Act, the legislation was amended to include several provisions allegedly suggested by the Trump administration, according to House Speaker Daniel Perez and Senate President Ben Albertin. Keep all these names in mind, because in my opinion, these are the rhinos that are trying to destroy all this. Okay, they're going to put Trump's name on it. Even DeSantis comes out and says, they were basically talking the talk just so they can get voted in. But now it seems like they're going to, in some way, shape, or form, they're going to try to keep putting Trump's name on it, but spin it all around. And again, we're going to get nowhere. It's going to wind up favoring the Democrat agenda in Florida. It says the bill increases penalties for crimes committed by undocumented immigrants, including requiring the death penalty for those convicted of capital offenses. Mandates law enforcement participation in immigration detention efforts, offering bonuses to officers assisting in raids. Eliminates in-state tuition waivers for undocumented students, even for those currently enrolled in Florida colleges and universities. The bill allocates over $500 million for immigration enforcement efforts, but Governor Ron DeSantis criticized the measure, calling it weak and saying it fails to meet the demands of Trump's broader immigration agenda. So even though all this sounds good, they're leaving out stuff that is more stuff that needs to be done. And unless you read the whole bill that Trump is putting out, the whole policy, you're not really going to know exactly what else is it that Trump wants to do. Right now, they're just adding these three, and that's why Ron DeSantis is saying, even though this looks like a lot, people say, well, that's a lot of stuff they're doing, $500 million and all this. If DeSantis is calling it weak, okay, and he's saying because it fails to meet the demands of Trump's broader immigration agenda, okay? And that's what people need to understand. The Democrats have always, and they still are, pulling a veil over people's eyes. Okay, but promises, and then never kept. With Trump, is promises made, all of them kept. And that is not what they want to happen. And believe me when I tell you, in the county that I'm at, I mean, there's no hiding it anymore. There is a major influx of illegal immigrants in the county that I'm at. Not that I never thought I would see that, and I don't. When I say that, I'm not trying to say that they're not allowed, but you can tell. I mean, the influx is just so many, and like I was saying in other videos, I mean, they're taking over the construction industry, the landscaping industry, the fencing industry. It's like, where is there room for Americans and the jobs? As a matter of fact, who was it? I believe it was AT&T. Okay. In my neighborhood, I seen that they were digging up trenches all along people's yards and stuff like that. You know, nothing major, like they were just destroying stuff, but they were just digging trenches, I mean, for blocks and blocks and blocks. And I'm like, what is going on? And so finally they came to the neighborhood that I was at one day while I was driving out. And the reason why I stopped to ask a question was because all I noticed was migrants working all over the place. And I'm like, what are they doing? Who's hiring them? So I pulled over. I went to ask one lady, okay, and they have women doing it too. I went to ask one lady. She turned around, didn't want to talk to me. Went to ask another guy. He started speaking Spanish. He didn't want to talk to me. He looked at one guy. The guy came up to me. He goes, you know, what's going on? I said, what are you guys doing? You're tearing up the streets and the yards and all that. He goes, oh, we're laying cable. I was like, laying cable for who? AT&T. I'm like, really? So now AT&T is subcontracting all this work to different companies, because I noticed different company names on different trucks, and those companies are hiring illegal immigrants to go and start doing all this work. Okay? So that's just one part of the working industry that they're giving away. So now they got the cable industry that they're giving away, the roofing industry, the framing industry, concrete, landscaping. It's like, this is why so many people are saying, oh, people in Americans are just lazy. No, it's not that we're lazy. It's just that the more that come in and the government entities are subcontracting to these smaller companies, they're the ones going and hiring all the illegal immigrants that are taking away jobs from me, where I can do landscaping, roofing, carpentry, framing. I mean, I could do all that. But it's so hard to find work because they're subcontracting it to companies that are hiring all the illegal immigrants. And this is something that Ron DeSantis is noticing, that there's a lot more Americans, okay, in the state of Florida that it's so hard for them to find work that they're resorting to different things. Like right now I'm doing deliveries. Okay, I'm not ashamed to say it. I got to go out there and work. I got to make some money. But why do I have to hang up my tool belt and go do deliveries when I should get first dibs on all these big contracts and making good money? But I can ramble on for that. I'm just giving you a little hint of what's going on. It says, well, we don't know. With strong Republican support in the legislature, the bill now heads to Governor DeSantis, though it remains unclear whether he will sign or veto the measure. He's going to veto it no matter what. So, with that being said, I got to show you, let's get to the video clip where Ron DeSantis puts in his exact words so everybody knows what's going on. Here we go. This was put out 2 days ago by Fox 4 News, I believe. I'll speed it up a bit. Well, he comes right in and starts talking.
Okay. Now, please be seated. Please be seated. Well, it's great to be back in Southwest Florida. We got our other panelists are coming up. Beautiful weather. A week ago today, up in North Florida, we were setting records for snowfall. The previous record in the state of Florida's history was 4 inches in Milton, Florida, however many decades ago. A week ago, Milton, Florida got 10 inches of snow. And so by that point in January, Milton, Florida had more snow than Anchorage, Alaska, if you can believe it. And so we were kind of getting out of that. You always know you can come down here to Southwest Florida, and this is the place to be. I'm joined here. We got a great round table. Dave Kerner runs our highway safety, motor vehicle, highway patrol for the state of Florida. We also have Homeland Security Investigation Special Agent in Charge, John Condon, is going to talk about what we're doing to combat illegal immigration. And we are now, for 4 years, I didn't have anyone that really wanted to work with us at the White House. Now we do. So I think we're going to do a lot of great stuff. Alvin Vincent is also here, U.S. Immigration's Custom Enforcement and Removal Operations. We also have Nikki Jones, who's an angel wife. She's in the restroom, but she's going to come and talk about what needs to be done. So if you look over the last, 6 years, but certainly the last 4, when the Biden administration enacted open border policies, there was no state that was stronger in fighting back against that than the state of Florida. We were the first state to send personnel to the southern border to assist Texas, trying to interdict people coming over. We, of course, have had maritime assets protecting the Florida Keys and the east coast of Florida, and have interdicted thousands of illegal aliens that we then turn over to the Coast Guard, who sends back to their home country. We even helped transport aliens to Martha's Vineyard, and that was something that got a lot of headlines. So And then we've done things, we've done mandatory e-verify, we have requirement that people give, if they're not here legally, when they go to the emergency room, we keep track of that. That's caused the cost to go down because people are focusing on this. So we've done a lot, but the reality is I think you had largely catch and release under Biden.
Yep.
We would have times where people get out of prison in Florida and they wouldn't come pick them up. They used to when Trump was president the first time. You'd be there, they'd come pick them, and then they'd be gone. So we had a lot of problems. I think some of the rank and file, I mean, these guys speak for themselves, but I know there's been frustration because they were handcuffed, right? They were not allowed, the Border Patrol, ICE, they were not allowed to fully do the job that I think that they probably signed up for, certainly that the American people want. But now we have an opportunity to make a huge difference and finally bring the illegal immigration crisis to an end once and for all, not just in the state of Florida, but all around the country. And there's not a single Republican that I know in the state of Florida who's in elected office, certainly in the legislature, statewide, in the Congress, who has not campaigned vigorously against the Biden border crisis, open borders, and talked about the need to deal with illegal immigration. They all do that, right? And the issue is when you do that, is it just kind of hollow rhetoric just to get you into office, and once you get there, you kind of just forget about it and move on?
You see? Straight out the horse's mouth. That's exactly what's going on. They campaign on it, and they're no more better than the Democrats. They'll campaign on it, and then when they come in, or they get reelected, or whatever the case is, right away it's like, well, we're in. Who does that remind you of? The Democrats. Let's continue. I'll go back just a little bit.
Just forget about it and move on, or even sabotage efforts to have enforcement, which we've seen Republicans do in the past, and unfortunately we saw that last night in the Florida legislature. Or are you intent on delivering on the promises you made to the people that sent you to office in the first place? And it's been my guide that when I tell you I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. And I don't say it idly. I follow up and we get the job done.
And that's what they don't like.
So I've been talking about this issue for a long time. When I ran in 22, we got reelected by a historic margin. This was a strong issue. No governor had been stronger. And then President Trump ran very unapologetically on enacting the largest deportation program in the history of the United States. He got elected on that promise, and others, but that was one of the major ones. And now's the time to bring that mandate to fruition.
Exactly.
Here's the thing, though, and the president's come out like gangbusters. He wants to do this. Like, this was not hollow rhetoric for him. He's putting his money where his mouth is with his early executive actions, and I think it's been really invigorating to see, especially after 4 years of Biden. But here's the thing. If you look at the numbers that they'll put out, ICE will put out every day, 800 arrests, 700, 1,000, 1,100. Extrapolate that over the course of a year. Say it's 1,000 a day, 365,000 times 4. That's like 1.5 million. And I do think they're going to ramp up. I do think it's going to be higher than that. Don't get me wrong. It's only been, a week, 10 days. But here's the thing. Biden let in 10 million by himself, right?
Yep.
So they will have, I think, more capacity. I think you will see those numbers climb, and I know the president wants to do that. But you are not going to fulfill the mandate of having the largest deportation operation in history unless local and state governments are in the fight helping our federal partners get the job done.
Okay, I'm gonna stop it. So you guys heard that, and that is one of the problems that's going on with these blue states and blue cities, where you have the governors and the mayors saying that they will not, just like in Chicago. Brandon Johnson said that he does not think that he should be able to use local law enforcement to help out ICE agents, and that's what Ron DeSantis is saying. Yeah, Trump can get the policies going. He can get the people who he has to put in charge to go and start taking care of this. But unless you also have a coordinated effort with local law enforcement, the ones that are picking up the ones that are committing the crimes and all that, and working with the judges and working with the people, that should be helping them, Trump's not going to be able to fulfill all that. Whereas DeSantis is like, you know what? I'm going to help him. Okay? This is why you got so much pushback from the left in so many different ways, because they're going to try to make it harder for Tom Homan and ICE to fulfill the policies that Trump was campaigning on. One of the policies, which is to get rid of the illegal migrants that Biden let in. And that's a lot of people. 10 million people. That is a hell of a lot of people. But let's continue.
So I was in a situation where after the election, we obviously got issues, apart from the federal government that we just deal with here, but there are issues where we have a partner on things. And it's not just this. I mean, President Trump's going to be more helpful on Everglades restoration. We do this Gulf snapper management that we got from the feds. Everyone's so happy that I've expanded Gulf red snapper season, the largest we've ever had. Atlantic red snapper is like 2 days, so I want management of that. I want to be able to do. And there's a whole bunch of other things, but the number one issue in the election, I would say, was the issue of border and immigration. It's been a huge issue here in the state of Florida, and I could have just said, go get them, Mr. President. We're rooting you on. We're watching. We're not going to do anything to help. We're watching because we're not a sanctuary state, and we don't allow sanctuary cities, but we don't necessarily have to help in this. Federal government can't make a state help with this. They can't make a city help with this. We're doing it because we think it's important. And so I knew, and I knew that I could direct the state agencies to be partners and to get it done. And so that's what we're doing. I mean, just yesterday we had Florida Department of Law Enforcement working with local police in South Florida. They busted 20 Chinese illegal aliens, in some big van. What are they doing in our country? We had a big bust with Dave Kerner's guys at Highway Patrol in Tallahassee with Homeland Security, aliens from Latin America. So we're in the fight, and we want to be in the fight. But not every level of government necessarily wants to be in that fight.
Mm-hmm.
And even though we don't allow sanctuary, there's a lot of cities, a lot of counties, they just don't want to deal
Exactly.
with the issue of illegal immigration at all. They want other people to deal with it, and they want to focus on it. But here's the thing. This issue permeates everything we do.
Yep.
It affects the schools. It affects healthcare. It affects safety on the roads. It affects crime. It affects so many different things that we need all hands on deck. So I said, okay, what do we need to do to make sure Florida is leading the way yet again and being a strong partner with the new administration? And here's the thing. If Florida does it, other states will follow.
Exactly.
If Florida doesn't lead or we're weak, then that gives the other states license to be weak. So I wanted to deal with this with the leaders of the legislature. They did not want to deal with it. They didn't want to do a special session. So I had to call it. And I said that this is urgent. We're going to come in a week after the president takes office. I knew they were going to do all these executive orders. And I knew a lot of those executive orders were going to invite state and local participation in their efforts. And I also understood how that can be a force multiplier, because you're talking about most of the interactions are with state and local officials. And think about it. I mean, you'll hear Nikki's story, but her husband was killed by an alien who had been stopped multiple times for major traffic, and they just kept releasing. Our highway patrol, if they stop you and you're here illegally, they're gonna get you to ICE, and we're gonna send you home. And that should be true with our police departments, our sheriff's departments. And just think, if that had been done over the years, you would have people like Nikki that would not have had a husband lost. You've had others that have lost kids. So we have a huge obligation to do this. So we called the special session. The leaders of the legislature said that it was premature, that there was no urgency to it. They accused me of doing a political stunt. And they said this could wait many months. I've been waiting 4 years to do something.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have time to wait. We've got to do it. And so I said, we're going to do it. They got really negative feedback from their voters, and so they kind of felt like they had to do something. But they didn't want to just, part of this is, some of it's petty, like they don't want the governor to get a win or this or that. Look, this is not about me. It's not about them. It's about you. It's about this state. And if they're going to come up with strong proposals, they can have 100% of the credit. I'm not looking for credit. I'm looking to get the job done. And so they came in this week and they unveiled a bill that was horrendous in so many different ways. It was one of the weakest immigration bills you could do for interior enforcement, and actually kneecaps some of the things we're doing right now. So it
There you
was,
go.
there's a couple things that I supported it, but it's like a half a step forward, 5 steps back. That was what they wanted to do. They got huge negative feedback from the voters. They kind of made some cosmetic changes, but what they have done, what they're trying to do to you, and I think this is insulting to you, they named this weak bill the Trump Act. They're trying to leverage Donald Trump's popularity and his reputation for being strong on immigration, and he has been strong out of the gate, no question, and they're trying to have that paper over the weakness, the weak sauce that they're trying to jam down your throats here in Florida. I think that's offensive. Honestly, what did Donald Trump deserve? What did he deserve to have an amnesty bill attached to his name? He's not advocating this, but that's effectively what it is, and I'll go through the reasons why. But it basically turns Florida into a sanctuary state. It will neuter interior enforcement. They're spending a lot of money on housing illegal aliens.
Look at
I
that.
don't want to house them. I want to deport them. That's what we need to do. That's the
You
mission.
see?
So they came out with this. It is not going to get the job done. And again, I want them to come up with strong proposals, and they can have 100% of the credit. But we are not going to be weak, and we are not going to wilt when it comes to this issue. We've been waiting to finally secure this issue for years and years, long even before Biden, decades this has been going on. Now we have the momentum. The president has put out the roadmap with strong executive orders. We have to be strong, and we've got to get the job done. And if Florida leads on this and we do something strong, other states are going to follow. Those numbers are going to go up. You're going to have more aliens removed, illegal aliens, every day. You're going to see the red states in particular do it. It's going to be a massive force multiplier. And if you don't, if you have a weak sauce or you don't do anything, then that's giving license to these other states. Say, hey, Florida's not going to do anything strong. Well, why would we do it? Trust me, people look to this state for leadership on these. So I think it's really important that we're strong. I think it's really important that we honor the promises of the voters who sent us into our offices. There's not a single Republican that ran for office saying they were going to be weak on this issue. Because if they did, they would have lost.
Exactly.
And we all know that. So now's the time to do it. And here's the problem I have with what they've done. I put out a series of proposals. Look, and I say it again, if you can do better than what I did, do it. I don't need any pride of authorship. I don't need any fanfare. I just want to get the job done. But what we propose, there's a number of things. One, we have to end catch and release with illegal aliens that get arrested. So what happens is, maybe someone is driving while intoxicated, they get arrested, they get booked, and the judge just releases them. We want to create a presumption that you don't get bail if you're here illegally, so we have time to then contact immigration authorities, and we can begin the process of getting you the hell out of our country. Very important to end catch and release. The legislature's bill doesn't end catch and release, doesn't do anything to deal with that. So we've seen this time and time again. You get a DUI, you're here illegally, you go in front of a judge, they send you home on bail.
Yeah, why?
You shouldn't be on bail in those situations or other situations, which sometimes are even much more serious.
And it's true. Let me interject a little bit. It's true because how many people? I mean, how many people that we know personally or that we've heard of, where an American gets a DUI, and especially when they cause an accident and somebody gets hurt, they don't get bail or no bail and get released by the judge. You're an American, your ass is getting locked up. Why is it that with the Biden administration, this whole immigration situation, that they get a free pass when they break the law and commit crimes? They get released every single time. That's why we keep hearing on the news that when one of these illegals finally commits or gets caught committing a heinous crime, they come to find out that person committed 3 or 4 crimes from the time they came into the country. And they were released every single time. Okay? Unless you're like in California or New York where they're even letting Americans that are committing multiple crimes go, it's like, why does it have to be like that? That is a leftist agenda. That is the way they like to do things. They're all about destruction. But let's continue.
So we need to end catch and release. The legislature's bill that they passed does not do that. I want to stop catch and release, and I want to move to detain and deport. That is the policy that's going to work for the people of Florida. The other thing that you have is so the one thing that they're saying is, and if you watch the debate that the legislature had, because the liberals were like, well, you're going to be deporting people, and then basically the proponents of the bill were like, oh, no, we're not going to do that. Just if someone's in the jail, then we'll refer them to ICE. Well, obviously, that's like the lowest hanging fruit. Now, it is true we have some jails that aren't participating in some of the federal programs, but I think that's easily resolved. They come to us for funding. I think we can do that. I'm totally fine with that being in here. We would do the same thing. But it's interesting. In our proposal, what we say is if an illegal alien is in jail, one of our jails, and there's an immigration detainer, ICE obviously can come get them and you're going to cooperate. But sometimes ICE doesn't do it. Maybe they're just shorthanded, whatever. We're authorizing the locals or the state to transfer the alien to ICE.
There you
The
go.
legislature's bill doesn't do that. They just get released if ICE isn't there when the time comes. And look, sometimes ICE in the past, because they're getting directive from on high to not do it, but now they want to do it, right? But they have limited resources, so it may not be where they are always going to be there. Well, I think you take the alien and you bring them there so that they're not released back into our communities. Legislature didn't do that. They didn't authorize the transport to be able to happen. The other thing is this. I said it was a half step forward, 5 steps back. Here's the reason why. We're doing operations now, and it's been much better, obviously, under the Trump administration. I mentioned the Chinese illegals. We did the bust yesterday in Tallahassee with Highway Patrol. I've got Highway Patrol, FDLE. I've got all these agencies that are working together to be able to bring the rule of law back and hold these folks accountable. This bill eliminates all the current operations that we are doing against illegal immigration.
Look at that.
It eliminates what FHP's doing. It eliminates FDLE. I have boats by the Keys and by the east coast of Florida, southeast coast, to interdict vessels. Biden had some Coast Guard. Trump has surged more. But you'll have like 30 Haitians coming on a boat, and if you stop them before they get to the shore, they just get turned around by Coast Guard and go back. So we've done that. So all those things would be revoked, and we wouldn't be in the game on any of that stuff. So that's taking steps backwards.
Yep.
And then the worst part about it is they actually strip the governor of immigration enforcement authority entirely.
Look at that.
And they transfer it to the Department of Agriculture. Now, why the hell would you do that?
Yep.
People ask, why would you do it? And part of it is, look, agriculture has been a magnet industry for illegal alien labor. It's cheap labor. They do all that stuff. That doesn't mean every farm in Florida is doing it, both family farms, big farms. And I'm not suggesting that everyone is, but we know it does happen. Let's just be honest. And so there is a conflict there as the ag commissioner, because you're going to have constituencies that are not necessarily going to want to have immigration enforcement. So it's a dumb idea just for that purpose. But it's also the case of they don't have the resources. So you're literally putting in this bill that none of our agencies can even discuss immigration with these federal authorities unless the ag commissioner approves that.
Yep.
How is that? What possible justification for that is? And people ask me, and they're like, well, and look, Florida does a good job in crisis management and emergency response. You guys have seen that over the years. We're proud of it. That emanates from my office and these others, all these agencies. We are a well-oiled machine. So if you really wanted to be successful, you would just, beef up authorities for us to keep doing our jobs, right? They're taking that away. Some of it may be petty politics they're trying to play just because they want to pull one over on me. But I think it's more than that. The reason you put it in ag, the reason you bar state agencies from communicating with ICE and Border Patrol is because you don't want to see more deportations.
Exactly.
It's because you don't want to see more interior enforcement. That's why they're doing it. It's a feature for them, not a bug that it's not going to work. And that gives the game away. If you were serious about interior enforcement, you were serious about increasing the number of illegal aliens that get deported out of the state of Florida to help the Trump administration set this record that the president's pledged to, the last thing you would do is send it to the ag commissioner and tie the hands of the very state agencies that have worked successfully on this issue for the last many years. So that gives the game away. And it basically means if we in the state, like if we had evidence of illegal labor or gangs, we'd have to go to the ag commissioner, and if the ag commissioner can veto us following through on it.
Yep.
So it is really bad and effectively makes us a de facto sanctuary state, because all of the enforcement is going to be contingent on this one ag commissioner and whether or not he is going to green light any of these operations. So it makes no sense whatsoever if you actually want to do a good job. It makes perfect sense if your goal is to sabotage enforcement.
Yep.
So you would have, because of that provision, you would have fewer people deported under their bill than you would if we just kept doing things the way we're doing now with the beef.
There you go. I'm going to cut it short. Sorry, people. Because this video is actually still has about an hour and 8 minutes to go, so I'm not going to play the whole thing. But you basically get the gist of what he's saying. And you heard it from the horse's mouth of what's going on. Now, if you want to watch the full video, I'll minimize this. It was put out 2 days ago by Fox 4 Now, and there's a couple of different videos that other people are putting out saying it's the full. But look under this one where at the end it says raw. That's the whole full video of it with no editing of some of the key things. But, you know, I had to put this out because right away I'm seeing the news already just pumping stuff out and making it seem like DeSantis is trying to put down Trump's immigration policy, and that's not what it is. What it is the Rhino Republicans and the Democrats are in cahoots now in Florida. They're trying to pass bills, trying to say that, trying to name it Trump's immigration policies or Trump Act or whatever, and it has nothing to do with what Ron DeSantis wants to do with Trump in order for them to be on the same page and get the job done. Okay? Like he said, right away they want to allocate funding for housing. He doesn't want to allocate funding for housing. To allocate funding for housing for them means for them to stay. That's just one of the things. Okay, and the more you keep doing just on just that alone, the more you keep doing that, what happens is, like he said, Florida winds up being a sanctuary city by de facto, or a sanctuary state. And I'm telling you, these Rhino Republicans and these Democrats are in cahoots. They are here to change the demographics of America and destroy, okay, the American way of life. That's what they want. And they're not going to stop. And this is why I've said in a few of my videos that the people of Florida cannot get complacent. You have to stay strong on your vote for the Republican Party, for the conservatives. Okay, listen, I know a lot of people that are Trump supporters that don't like DeSantis. Me personally, I've had my beef of things that I don't like about DeSantis. And I've mentioned that in a few of my videos. But this right here shows me that, you know what? That regardless of what things that I have against him, he is still trying to stay on cue with Donald Trump. And that's who I voted for, even though I voted for DeSantis also. But I'm just saying, when it came to the presidency, I voted for Trump. And we need the governors and the lawyers and the judges, whoever's going to be a part of this, to be on the same page. Watching, watching Cash Patel during the confirmation, Tulsi Gabbard, and I forgot who the other one was. All the Democrats kept saying was they were asking these gotcha questions. Are you going to fall in step with Trump? Or if you see something wrong, are you going to tell him no? They don't want anybody to be on Trump's side. They want people that will look at Trump, and because they find something wrong, it may be something personal, to say, I'm not going to do that. They're saying that Trump wants everybody on his side because he wants to be able to control. You can look at that in many different ways the way you want. But here's the thing. You can't be the king of your castle if you cannot act like a king. You cannot be the president to the United States if you do not act like the president. You cannot be a president to a bank, okay, if you have people that you feel are going to go against you and steal money. I mean, you have to look at it on so many levels. Trump wants loyal people that will get his policies going across. Unlike Biden was controlled by people with different agendas, all the same agenda, which is to like basically destroy America, in my opinion. But that's why they also fell apart, because everybody on the left was coming with their own agendas, and the Democrat Party just kept falling apart, and is still falling apart because they're all fighting for different things. You cannot run this country with having people like that. Donald Trump will not be able to run this country if he has people like that surrounding him. They want to do, have a say-so in their own personal agendas. You have to be on the same page. And Ron DeSantis wants to be, and said he will be on the same page with Trump when it comes to this situation. Okay? And some people have said that Ron DeSantis is a rhino. Me personally, like I said, I do have some personal things about him, things I don't like when it comes to certain things. But when it comes to the bigger picture, he wants to be, and he said he's going to be on ball, on the same page with Donald Trump. And this is one of the major things that, like he was saying, a lot of Republicans ran on with Trump, saying, yeah, we're going to stick with him. But then when they get voted in, now it's like, well, we want nothing to do with that, or we're going to go behind so-and-so's back, and we're going to try to push him out of power. Who does that? Democrats. And now you got the rhinos doing it. And here we are. It's ridiculous, man. It truly is ridiculous. And like I said, and I'll say it again, if anybody from Florida watches this video, you have to understand, do not be complacent, thinking that, you know what, things are looking good, we can sit back. All it takes is one vote. As far as like voting one person is, all it takes is one election on a lower level all the way to the top. That's why it's so hard right now in New York. I'll make this quick so we can wrap it up. The AOC has gotten so much power. Okay? Even with her losing her voter base, it is going to be so hard for people in New York to get her out. Why? Because she started on a lower level and now she's worked her way up the ladder. And when you have politicians like that they basically come in like a Trojan horse, or just catering to everybody, and once they get in, they don't start sticking to the policies that they campaigned on, you're not going to get them out. You really have to fight even harder to get them out. That's why Gavin Newsom is not getting kicked out. That's why Brandon Johnson's not getting kicked out, or the governor of Chicago's not getting kicked out. That's why Kathy Hochul hasn't gotten kicked out. Eric Adams. And here's another quick one with Eric Adams. Okay? So much that Eric Adams, and it's in the news, go look it up, said he was going to help Trump with the migrant situation in New York. Now there's another protest going on because he's going forward with building another shelter, okay, in the South Bronx. That's going to house 2,000 male migrants. So much that he said he's going to help Trump. Now they're going to spend more money on illegal migrants in New York. Instead of saying, no, we're not going to spend any more money to build another place. Let's just give these people over to ICE, like he's saying he wants to work with Trump. Nope. That already is out the door. That's the way they do it, man. That's the way they do it. But anyway, I hope you liked the video. If it's your first time, don't forget to comment, like, share, subscribe. And to everybody else, I want to thank you guys for sticking with the channel. I mean, lately, it's been so hard to get views. I don't know what's going on, but I guess I can look at this two ways. One, my content really sucks, or two, I'm pulling a nerve, and that's why they're not pushing it out as much. I don't know. Okay, I really don't know. But hope you like the content. Don't forget to comment, like, share, subscribe, pass the channel around, and if you can help support the channel, there's a link in my description to my Cash App and my merch store. So remember, people, stay vigilant, keep praying for each other, keep praying for the women and the children, pray for this country, pray for your enemies, and pray for Donald Trump. And again, don't forget to pray for all the missing children. Peace.